This morning, the United States has renewed a trade war against one of its largest trading partners. The Trump administration has now imposed new 50% tariffs against $20 billion of Canadian goods. Now, these new levies, they went into effect over the weekend and will likely raise prices on everyday items you purchase, like dairy, clothing, building materials, hockey equipment. Marathon talks took place last week to avoid these new tariffs, but ultimately broke down at the 11th hour. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney addressed his country.
Canada will match Washington's new tariffs dollar for dollar in order to protect Canadian workers, farmers, families, and businesses.
Why does it feel like today Mark Carney is going to war? Trade war. The tone.
Because we were attacked. Like you're at war when you get attacked. We got attacked.
Joining us now, NBC News senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez and business and data correspondent Brian Chung. Gabe, we heard from the U.S. trade representative this morning, and he had a different take. Tell us what the difference is between the U.S. and Canada here.
Well, the administration sees this very differently, Christine. They are trying to argue that Canada has been ripping off the U.S. for far too long. And in addition to those tariffs that we had heard about last week on those household items, I should point out, just within the past few minutes, we have some breaking news. President Trump posting on social media saying that on January 1st, again, on January 1st, there will now be 50% tariffs on all cars, trucks, and automotive parts and steel, that those tariffs will be increased to 50%. That has the potential to have huge economic consequences here. And as you mentioned, the U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer was interviewed earlier this morning. He described why these trade talks collapsed last week with Canada. Let's listen.
Simply, they wanted more. I don't know if it was political for them. It certainly doesn't make economic sense, but perhaps for political reasons. They have some by-elections coming up. I don't know, but they came in and they wanted more, and we weren't prepared to do that.
So there had been an escalating war of words for quite some time now. We've seen between the U.S. and Canada, with President Trump repeatedly mocking Canada as the 51st state, now escalating this to some very real potential economic consequences that American consumers might feel. But Jamieson Greer earlier today, he's trying to argue that this only affects a small percentage of overall trade between the U.S. and Canada. So he's downplaying the consumer impact of all this. But still, a lot of questions moving forward, Christine.
I mean, he is right there, guys. And Brian, I'll bring you in here. He's right about that's 5% of what Canada sells the United States.
It's not everything.
The concern is, though, that tit for tat, if you start going back and forth here. And you've already got inflation higher than is comfortable in the United States. So you could see holiday decor, wine, plywood, all of these things, they could be more expensive for American shoppers.
Yeah, and again, when we get to January 1st, if there is no resolution on what Gabe was just saying with that fresh round of potential 50% tariffs on auto products coming in from Canada, that can make buying a new car a lot more expensive as well. We had already been talking about this a year ago when some of the proposed tariffs on automotive products coming in from Canada and around the world could have threatened to increase the cost of a new vehicle by thousands of dollars. We can now be facing the same thing because you have to remember we get a lot of our vehicles from Canada as a result of some of the infrastructure that was in place under NAFTA and then after USMCA for building automotive vehicles across Canada, Mexico, and the U.S. But to your point, these types of tariffs, now that they've taken effect as of this weekend, they could threaten to raise prices for a lot of those things going into the key holiday retail season. We know that tariffs don't necessarily lead to dollar for dollar increases in prices the day after they're put in place. But if you think about the fact that it has historically taken a few months for that to bleed through, where does that take us? It takes us close to around that key Black Friday shopping period where some of those goods that could be tariffed now from Canada could get more expensive. So if you try to buy a hockey stick, for example, for your kid who might play hockey later on this winter, that could get 50% potentially.
It's interesting, too, that late last week we heard the administration was considering lowering tariffs on ground beef, imported ground beef, because that would help beef prices in the United States. The same administration that says tariffs don't cause higher inflation.
Right. They seem to acknowledge the impact of some of that.
Sometimes, but sometimes not. Right. Gabe, Carney said in that press conference the U.S. was trying to restrict Canada's trade deals with other countries, infringing on its sovereignty. What more are we learning about why these talks broke down?
Well, the U.S. Trade Representative Greer said earlier today that actually it appeared that these talks were going pretty well as of earlier last week, as of Tuesday. But then those talks broke down because, as he put it, Canada wanted more. I do find it interesting, Christine, that Greer also said that while there are no trade talks scheduled with Canada at this point, and the administration is now preparing options for President Trump to respond to Canada's retaliatory tariffs. We are hearing that there are trade talks scheduled with Mexico, and Greer seemed much more optimistic that there could be some sort of deal reached with Mexico, our neighbor to the south. But again, right now, a very icy relationship between Canada and the U.S., Christine.
Icy, to be as icy as a Canadian pond, where you're playing hockey with sticks that will cost more if you buy them in the United States. Just quickly, Brian, Canada says it will retaliate dollar for dollar for these tariffs. That could be trouble for some of these states. I'm thinking Ohio, I'm thinking Iowa, Pennsylvania, Alaska, Maine, where so much of their economy is exports to Canada.
Well, the Midwest, you think about some of these dairy, agricultural equipment tariffs that you see on the board ahead of you. These are the industries that Canada is targeting. As Mark Carney says, they're going to respond dollar for dollar. Electronics is going to be big. We're already in a chip shortage, so that can make a lot of those types of goods more expensive as well. But again, I think you already mentioned this. This is the beginning of what could be tit for tat that increases the range and industries that would be covered under this trade war between the U.S. and our neighbors to the north. And this might just be the beginning of that unless there's a de-escalation if talks resume at some point.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.